be applied for humanitarian response, including distribution and supply of medical commodities, food and non-food items, rehabilitation of infrastructure, and resettlement of displaced families. The state's intervention is being undertaken in a joint effort between the national and county governments, and which incorporates the Kenya Defence Forces and the National Youth Service in operation with the Kenya Red Cross Society. Through aircraft made available by the Kenya Defence Forces, medical supplies have been airlifted to the most vulnerable counties. I'll go to some specific measures that the government has already taken since the president spoke on Saturday to support farmers who have been adversely affected. The government has disbursed 500 million shillings to the new KCC to mop up excess milk during this rainy season. The government has also airlifted medical supplies worth 180 million shillings through the KDF and in conjunction with the Wajir County government to Wajir County. Infrastructure restoration is being implemented following damage caused by rains. The works on the following roads and bridges have been repaired. One, Bogolo Bridge on the Mtwapa Malindi Road has been repaired. Jalango Center on the Nino Modogashe Road has been repaired. Madade Center on the Wajir Mandera Road has been repaired. Ohio Center on the Nuno Modogashe Road has also been repaired. Karbakole in Mandera, the college end of the tarmac there, has been repaired. And the Garissa airstrip has also been repaired, and commercial flights will resume tomorrow. And of course, it will really go a long way in coordinating relief efforts. Ongoing works to be completed by tomorrow, Tuesday 28th, include repairs at Maalim Tokbub on the Nuno Modogashe Road and Kotulo, Mandera on the Wajir Mandera Road. The works in progress include Tula on the Thika Garissa Road, Arer on the Thika Garissa Road also, and Moyale to Ramu Road in Mandera through Bute in Wajir. To fortify the national response, the cabinet sanctioned the following additional interventions. One, scaling up the scope of humanitarian assistance to reach more than 50,000 households, especially in the arid and semi-arid counties. The cabinet also observed that to support county governments in addressing the disaster situations in their respective areas, the National Treasury last week disbursed 10 billion shillings of their shareable revenue. Cabinet also directed the National Treasury to release an additional 10 billion shillings to county governments this week, again, part of their shareable revenue. And of course, the government is encouraging the counties, as much as it's part of the shareable revenue, government is encouraging counties to try and reallocate some of these funds to the dire situation now occasioned by these floods. The government also directed the enhanced deployment of the KDF and all public civilian aircraft to transport medical supplies, food and non-food items for targeted distribution as recommended. It also sanctioned a proposal to be sent to Parliament for the replenishment of the contingencies fund and the rationalization of the budget and supplementary appropriations too of the current financial year. Cabinet also directed the National Treasury to further rationalize the current budget and direct ministries, departments, and agencies, that is MDAs, to commence reallocation of funds in their budgets to support the emergency response being undertaken by the state. Scaling up of rapid response to rehabilitate dilapidated road networks and facilitate delivery of humanitarian assistance to the affected populations will also be done. And Cabinet also sanctioned the distribution of over 150,000 mosquito nets to the affected counties. That is already happening. Cabinet also directed the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, in consultation with all agencies within the sector, to give priority to maximum production, uptake, and distribution of hydro-generated power. It further directed the Ministry of Energy to pass the benefit of lower electricity tariffs to the public in a manner that promotes the increased use of hydro-generated power, which has presently increased to 20%, while diesel has gone down from 15 to 10%. Cabinet also committed the coordination of all state efforts to the National Disaster Operations Center, which will coordinate all relief activities by activating the whole of government approach, thus ensuring efficient deployment of resources and enhanced communication among relevant government agencies and humanitarian organizations. An ad hoc cabinet committee was also established on disaster response under the leadership of His Excellency the Deputy President to coordinate the state response. Through the National Disaster Operations Center, the government will continue to provide regular updates on the progress of our relief efforts, and the center shall work closely with the media in disseminating accurate and timely information to the public. The emergency session of Cabinet today, or the special session of Cabinet, concluded by reassuring all Kenyans that the government is doing everything within its power to return the situation to normalcy within the earliest time possible. Cabinet also urged all Kenyans to prioritize safety during their travel in this period, as well as at their homes and workplaces. All Kenyans should exercise patience and caution while traveling, wait for storm waters to subside before attempting to cross roads, report any instances of flooding or landslides to the authorities, and strictly follow all guidelines issued by government. Thank you very much. I'll take a few questions. I will kindly request you to restrict them as much as possible to the cabinet resolutions. Yes.
My name is from Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. My question is, the 10 billion Kenyan shillings you say has been distributed, or rather reimbursed to the counties.
Shareable revenue, yes.
Shareable revenue. Is it the normal shareable revenue, or does it consist of the fund you're talking about that will cater for the emergency as a result of the El Nino?
Okay. The 10 billion shillings, 10 billion, so it's 20 billion in total. 10 billion was released last week. Another 10 billion Treasury has been directed to release today by the end of this week, hopefully by Thursday. But again, the government can only encourage. And as I said, government is working with county governments in this response, because we are serving the same people at the end of the day. The situation is in Kenya and beyond, but as far as Kenya is concerned, we are all serving the same citizen. So we are working together with counties, and this is part of their shareable revenue. But we are encouraging, the government is encouraging counties to try and set aside some money, to reallocate some money to the alleviating the problem, the current problem.
All right. Sidney Chazima from NCT. My question goes to the utterances by the head of state. A few months ago, he said that the threat of El Nino is somehow has been downscaled. Yesterday, speaking in Koisamu, he said that some people had mocked him when he prayed for the rains sometime back in the year, and that the country is experiencing rains that it has never experienced before. Now, today he has held a cabinet meeting to find and provide solutions and mitigating interventions to this issue at a time when over 70,000 people have lost their lives. So is this
70, not 70,000.
70.
Yeah.
So is this an double admission from the head of state that really the warning from the Met Department should have been taken seriously before, and these measures be put in place before the loss of lives?
Okay. The warning from the Met Department was taken seriously, and that is why he was the first person to pronounce himself on the matter. Okay. So they classified this as an El Nino phenomenon. The rains as a result of an El Nino phenomenon, and there was a warning. The same Met downgraded. So the president was speaking from information from Met, downgraded, and then the president communicated. Now it has happened. And of course, prediction of weather patterns is not a precise science. We all know that. And several places in the world have got it wrong. Okay. But the most important thing now is to deal with the situation at hand. And when the president says he prayed, he was being mocked, or some in government were being mocked for praying for rains. There are some, as much as we are seeing problems, and the government will do and is doing, as I have enumerated, all it can to alleviate the situation, we also have to agree that the rains in some parts of the country are beneficial. We're talking about a milk glut, and that farmers now, KCC has been given 500 million shillings so that they can take this milk from farmers. That is something positive. You're talking about hydro-generated power, and tariffs now will be lowered for the consumer. That is something positive. So it has a positive and negative side. Yeah. But all in all, the president was briefed about El Nino phenomenon. It was downgraded by the same Met Department, and afterwards, of course, they escalated it back to El Nino. Yes, Afande.
I have the mic, so it's okay. Okay, I'll ask mine. I don't know what he wants to ask. Yeah, I just need a bit of clarity, Hussein. At the beginning of this statement, you talked about some 7 billion shillings. Then you mentioned about the extra 20 billion shillings. So perhaps just give us clarity. 10 and 10.
Yeah.
So the 7 and 10 and 10. So clarity on that. Let me just finish this question. So clarity on that, and then there seems to be the semblance of a delayed response from government from the start of this El Nino rains, something my colleague has alluded to there. We have, I think we're the third or fourth week of the El Nino rains. People have died, and there has been a lot of disconcerted response from government, both from national, at the executive level, county level. What do you think that happened, and what lessons do you think perhaps the executive can take from what has happened here? Own calculations as a media house, we actually have a number higher than that because we have been keeping tabs since the reports of the deaths have been coming in. It indicates it's 76, but our numbers are reaching close to 90. Perhaps you can also respond to that.
Okay, so those are three questions. So number one, where government, of course, relies on its in its system, and it's a well-established system to categorize disasters once they happen. And that is why I said we are at an alarm stage and not in all counties. So the response has been okay. And that is why the cabinet, that is why the president spoke on Saturday after seeing an escalation of the rainfall, of course, and floods and the devastation in some of these counties. And that is why a special cabinet meeting was held and these measures have been put. And there's a response going on the ground. Again, government has its own established protocols, and information is relayed about the people who lost their lives or people who are affected. And again, we condole with all the bereaved families because of what has happened. But those are the figures we're getting as government from our own people or from our own government officers on the ground. The third question was? Yeah, the amounts. No, there's no discrepancy there. 7 billion is contingency fund, okay, that is supposed to cater for this. So government has, and cabinet today, as I said, has talked about those funds and how they will be used to coordinate relief efforts. And of course, is asking Parliament again to replenish that amount. 10 billion last week, 10 billion this week. It has to do with shareable revenue to counties. It's not about the contingency funds. I hope that answers it, Brenda. Yeah.
Asante. Kwa jina naitwa Vincent Afande, a radio journalist for Radio Citizen. Maswali mingi yale nilikuwa nikataka kuuliza, mwenzangu ashauliza, lakini sasa wacha nikuulize hivi. County ya Busia inajongelea athari kubwa kutokana na El Nino, hasa sehemu za Budalangi. Pengine katika baraza la mawaziri wa asubuhi ya leo, swala hilo liweza kuibuka katika mkutano huo, ama mnasubiri kuona maafa ndio mwanze kuchukua hatua katika kaunti ya Busia?
Mayo. Afande, I think tumeongea kuhusu counties ambazo zimeathirika na tumezitaja, na nimesema among hizi counties 38 Busia ni mojawapo. Okay? Na pia niliongelea kuhusu counties ambazo zimeathirika zaidi. So Busia iko kwenye orodha na pia inashughulikiwa kama counties zingine zote. Afande. Yeah. Okay.
I wanted a bit of clarification from the 7 billion shillings. Is it in addition to the 2.4 billion shillings released last week? And is it going to be shared to counties, or it's national government dealing with it?
It's actually provided for in the constitution as well. It has nothing to do with counties. It's part of the contingency fund. So 2.4 billion that went to ASALS, Department of ASALS, arid and semi-arid, for food and non-food items is part of the 7 billion contingency fund that now we are asking, or government is asking Parliament to replenish. Okay, last one here.
My name is Kevin Cheriot from Daily Nation. Going by your statement, you said that 38 counties have been affected. And don't you think that the government has taken long? Maybe it should declare the ongoing El Nino as a state of emergency.
The discussions in cabinet, and of course, the decision to call something or declare a national disaster is based on data on the ground. The data that has been assessed on the ground, as I said, only puts this so far at an alarming stage. And as I said, there's a National Disaster Operations Center that is up and running. It will be based in Nyaya House under the Ministry of Interior. They are assessing by the minute data from the ground and whether there is need to escalate this beyond where it is right now. Yeah, so we have a situation, it's alarming. After the alarm stage, if things get out of hand, if things get worse, then of course, the government will decide then whether based on the data on the ground, it's time to call it a disaster. But for now, it is not. Okay, thank you very much. Nashukuru sana. Yeah, yeah.
The government has been asking people who are living close to areas that are prone to landslides, flooding, even the dams, to actually move to higher ground. But some of them are resisting. What can the government do, or what is the government doing beyond just asking them to move? Is there plans, or there plans to actually have them, forcefully move to safety?
Again, Brenda, that is based on how the situation will be assessed. For example, the Ministry of Energy, which is also will be part of the National Disaster Operations Center, will assess the dams in the country, the key dams, and whether we'll have a spillover, and what that will have, the effect that will have downstream, and whether we'll get to a point where people will now have to be moved. But for now, it is caution. And the government has, as I said in the statement, is urging the members of the public to cooperate and listen to the advice they are given so that we avoid any further devastation. Yeah. Thank you so much. Nashukuru.